Wanh. I am an AMO coach, and I've been with AMO since about February 2020. I always say like right before COVID lockdown. So it's about over 2 years. One of the most rewarding parts about being a coach is, for that same reason, being a part of that journey with them. So every year we have a residency match questionnaire that we send out, and just receiving the responses, all those successful responses that we receive, it's just very rewarding to see, how excited these trainees are. If they match into a U.S. residency program, I'm going to be a U.S. doctor after being an international medical graduate. So just being a part of that, a small part of that journey, it really is rewarding for me. One of the most common questions that I receive from our trainees would be, what is the process like if I have school documentation or any kind of school requirements that I need to submit in order to obtain elective credit from my school? And that's a great question. So I would say even before you apply for an AMO rotation, just speak with an AMO advisor and see what the process would be for school documentation. So your AMO advisor will be able to help pass along that documentation or those requirements to the program, and then get approval for that, just so that you're not running into any issues after you reserve. Let's say you're reserved, but the preceptor is not able to fill out that documentation for whatever reason. That's why it's important for you to pre-clear those documents before you book the rotation. That way you kind of have peace of mind for being able to receive elective credit from your school. So one of the most common issues that trainees face, in my experience, would be just getting a visa. So one of the reasons for that is just because trainees sometimes put it off until later. So that's why I recommend looking into the visa process ahead of time. Sometimes it can take several weeks or several months to get a visa, and sometimes even years, depending on what embassy you're applying to and what your circumstances are. So for that reason, I do recommend looking into the visa process ahead of time. What that process is, what documents I need to apply for that, and also speaking with your AMO coach after you reserve about the visa, just as soon as possible. Sometimes you might need additional documents from AMO. So in that case, you would need time to get those documents back. So, for that reason, it's just important to look into the visa process as soon as you can. I think the general consensus for our virtual programs is that they are very beneficial. So I've had a lot of testimonials from my trainees who've done virtual rotations, and they were able to earn very strong letters of recommendation that they were able to use to apply for a U.S. residency match program. So I think that virtual programs are very beneficial, and I've even heard some trainees say that this was the X factor in my residency application, this letter of recommendation that I received from this virtual program. So for that reason, I do think that our virtual programs are very, very beneficial, and you're able to get a lot from that. One tip that I give that I think is really helpful is just preparing in advance, just because some of the processes, some of the documentation that you need to be enrolled into your AMO program takes time. So for example, the visa process, if you do need a visa and you need a visa, please try to look into that sooner rather than later, or just as much in advance as you can. Like I said, sometimes it can take several weeks or several months, sometimes even a couple of years to get a visa, depending on your circumstances. So one of the most common reasons I would say trainees get into trouble is just because they're doing things last minute, and it ends up hurting them in the long run. If things are submitted late, it could cause a delay in your rotation or even a cancellation. So that's why it's very important to prepare in advance, and not just things like visas, but also immunizations take time, school documents take time to get, things like that.